This is Developer Guide for the Boys and Girls Club of America in Canoga Valley. This application is currently functional front end and back end in that it records the sentiment of members and it can be sent to the back end for reflection in data analysis. I will go through the pages and I will first go through the flow of an administrator for this application. After logging in, we arrive at member morale, or we arrive at this admin dashboard showing member morale, where we can manage members here. We can set by dates, we can select clubs, we can select different members, and we can show the data that's collected reflected in these different graphs. Same thing for activities. We have a way of reflecting collected data. We can go beyond that. We can go to programs. An admin can look at the programs that have been added. They can add new programs. They can choose the clubs. They can also add programs by .csv file. And for clubs, in similar fashion, we have a list reflecting our data of clubs, and we can add a new club. So the admin can manage members, they can manage programs, and they can manage clubs. I will now go over the flow of the UDP pages. As a UDP, our dashboard goes directly into club selection. And from there, we can select an activity for that club. We can also go back and change the club that we were using. After that, we can get to a scanner page where we can scan in our QR code with a working camera, or we can manually input our member ID. At this point, we can also break out of here and change our activity should we feel necessary. And then we arrive at our emoji selection page. This is one of two emoji selection pages. This one being for checking in and checking out of the club. Our second page being for sentiment of the activity that the member just performed. We have a redirect confirmation page after that, and it will bring us right back into the scanner page. Just to show the other emoji page, I will move into an activity, like archery. I will put in some member identification, and as you can see, this is a different emoji page. But it also brings us back to the scanner. And one more time, because since this is the central focus of the app and collection of data, and then the redirect. And that loop is very important for the YDP, and so that they can keep scanning several members in single sessions. And that it wraps up our YDP flow. In addition to those two sets of pages, there's also a page for the club flow for the club directors. However, we have not constructed those pages, so just keep that in mind. Now I will go over some of the common components that we have within this app. We have our button, authorizations, various buttons, we have our layout containers, logout components, navigation components, some styling section, then I'll go over some of the pages as far as the code goes. Going through some of the flow, we have our dashboards, member scanners, emoji selections, activity selections, club selections, admin dashboards. All of that can be found here. And now to move on to state, we're using Context API. Here are some actions. We have posts, gets. Here's some context. We have context for admins, context for activities, context for members, context for clubs. All this is our state management and drives our pages in the flow that we intended. We have roles. This helps with our security. These are our reducers. And that's an overview of our state. And just to quickly touch on some security, here's our API calls, the majority of them. We located an API index. And that just about wraps up an overview of our files and our pages, how our state works. Please refer to the rest of the documentation for more details. Additionally, we have some suggestions for the next cohort. We would consolidate some styling frameworks. Currently, we're using AND less styling components, which isn't ideal. We would recommend leaning towards one or the other. It's just something to consider for whatever you guys are working on now. All pages are also should be responsive and look good on mobile, but that's currently not the case. Currently, we have optimized our styling to work good on the tablet that they would be using, but the UDPs are going to be using, well, they're using this app with the club members. So we don't have any breakpoints for mobile or anything like that. So that's something that you might want to set up, just in case. But that is something to ask the stakeholders as well. We would want you to possibly review the icons for the menu. Some icons don't seem to match up with their links. Some seem a little bit mismatched. There's currently no unit testing, and it'd probably be a better practice if we include that testing and had more coverage. We don't have a lot of coverage as far as testing goes, so that's something that we would recommend. We're using libc for documentation, so Storybook is no longer required. You can remove that. This is libc, by the way. The API and index, which was shown earlier in the video, we think should be refactored. And we have hard-coded URLs to meet the MVP, but it does need to be duplicated. So something a little bit more concise would be of benefit to the app. Our report widgets, folder, and pages within there can be a little bit more organized. That would be our data representations that were shown earlier in the video. And currently, what was shown on the video in state management is, at this time, getting reworked and will probably be re-implemented by the time that you're watching this. And if that's the case, we'll either have an addendum on this video or it'll be in the documentation. Now to go over the bugs. There are some centering issues with some of the contents on the page. Creating a little bit more consistent layout for all the pages might be something to look into. Again, that's related to maybe mobile view, or a lot of this has to do with styling. So some decision on styling can be made, but right now everything does work and looks good. Another bug is when we are using Chrome Incognito as a user, we logged in into a different account. So incognito mode with Chrome does introduce some problems. This needs to be discussed with a product manager and an Okta, because we believe it's an Okta issue. Currently, there's a bug where the login page can be accessed when you're already logged in, which is not ideal, not what we want as far as how our management goes. And Currently, our redirect page is clearing our member state. We believe that should be moved to the scanner to avoid anything going wrong with emoji selection if it's not working. And that wraps it up for bugs. And that wraps it up for the video. So thank you very much for stopping in and have a good one.